That's really
I usually do this, like I'm talking to her.
Awesome. I love it. I do that too.
Right, so.
There's a lot of hand movements in this one. I love it.
Hey, it's the Italian in me.
Welcome to Lifestyle Profiles. I'm Wendi McGowan-Ellis, and today our guest is Andre Angel with TangoTab. Andre, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us your background. Let's start there, because I know you haven't always been in this particular industry that you're in right now.
No, I come from a long history of technology background. So I started as a young engineer at the time, a mid-level company, about $6-7 billion, and
mid-level, $6-7 billion. I could only wish.
and grew very fast through the company. So I became an inventor of some technologies or solutions inside the company, and climbed the ladder so fast, became the CIO at the age of 26.
Wow.
And then ran global sales to about $23 billion, and left the company in late '99.
Okay.
So since we've built 16 companies, 8 of them have created an exit, and 8 are on the go.
Okay, so we're going to talk about one of them today,
Sure.
TangoTab. I'm familiar with TangoTab's Feed the City events. So first tell us what TangoTab is, how you started it, and then what the Feed the City events are.
So TangoTab is a company that I founded to help really end hunger. And the idea is it's an app that solves hunger. Just like anything, hunger needs a solution via an app. The idea of TangoTab is that effectively every time you use the app to dine at a restaurant, we feed a hungry person in need, so that when you eat, a hungry person also eats. And the idea came to me through a really coincidental visit to a food pantry in Plano.
Okay.
I had, in my previous history, I had traveled so much and I've seen hunger around the world.
Yeah.
And we all have this impression of what hunger looks like, right? So it's this, young, potentially African kid that we see on TV at midnight.
And it's way over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or it's a Latin American kid, or, hunger in India. And we think of hunger here as homelessness,
Yes.
right? So I was invited really to sit on a board of this pantry, but on a Saturday morning, I took the kids to volunteer. All I wanted to do is actually give my kids a lesson that there are people living differently than they are, because they've grown up in an environment very differently to what I've grown up. I didn't grow up with much, and really on a Saturday morning took them in to volunteer at Minnie's Food Pantry in Plano.
Okay.
And by 8:15, as people are starting to park cars, and nice cars, and I saw that they were dressed better than I was that morning, and of course the stance goes like this, right? Like, these are not hungry people, come on. And I really turned to the lady who runs the pantry, and I said, how do you know that these people are not cheating the system? I mean, these guys are not hungry. And she was so cool. She said, just keep looking, right? And I was like, okay, and now I'm looking. And it's just that stigma that we have about what hunger looks like, right? So I'm thinking, these guys drive, some nice SUVs. I mean, these are not hungry people. And as they passed me when we opened the doors, nobody looked me straight in the eyes. They were looking bowed down almost, looking to the ground. And I was like, okay, that's shame, right? Mm-hmm. So I asked permission to interview them, and I was very curious about what's going on. And the story was so consistent that some of them lost their jobs between 2007 to 2009.
Yep.
Many lost homes. Many have jobs. So I've met couples who have 2 or 3 jobs each, right?
Yeah.
Some of them used to be executives at companies like EDS here, and they've lost their job, in those years or after the acquisition by HP. And they've burned through their savings. They still drive a car because they need a car for work, and they can't make ends meet, so they have to go to a pantry to get food. So I decided to dig deeper into the problem just to understand what's going on, right? And when you dig into it, you find that the need is so huge. As an entrepreneur, which in my book means problem solver, I needed to solve this problem. And that's how TangoTab started.
Okay, so it is an app on your phone that you can download through the Google Store or the Apple App Store. We have given TangoTab a Give for Frisco page. So lifestylefrisco.com/giveforfrisco, you will find TangoTab's page, and if you enter the discount code Frisco, then when you check into a restaurant, your the proceeds are going directly to you guys. So tell us how that works.
So
how you've partnered with the restaurants.
Right. So the proceeds actually don't go to us. We're
okay,
donating.
that's right. Okay.
We're donating the proceeds to a local charity. So the idea is this: it's a business. So let me step back and say that I wanted to build TangoTab as a for-profit business.
Right. Okay.
And it's not that I don't like nonprofits. It's I found that there are challenges in the nonprofit model, so they can't scale.
Right.
Okay, they always have to depend on us, the donors,
Yes.
on the volunteers. So I look at nonprofits as a beautiful, a set of beautiful people that are helping people, but it's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid to the problem. It doesn't solve the problem. So I thought, how do we solve the problem by building a business? So tried to find a problem that we could solve. And the problem for TangoTab that we looked at was restaurants. And it was as simplistic as looking at, okay, if we had 1 billion meals dined in restaurants every week in the US, and we could feed a person every time you dined in a restaurant, could we solve the problem with having 50 million hungry Americans? So we had the math
Yes.
to solve the problem. And the reason it was that simplistic is I found a major flaw in restaurants, right?
Okay.
And the restaurant industry, which
Yes.
has a significant problem. We have a major failure in restaurants, where the national average of restaurants fail by 60% within 3 years.
Yes.
The biggest reason for failure is a traffic management issue.
Yeah.
If a restaurant cannot attract people during lunch and dinner, they will fail.
Right.
And the reason is they have a very, very large fixed cost component in their model.
Yeah.
Right? So.
And they're people centric and people heavy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But so their main, let's call it currency that they play with is that food, right? Can I bring people to dine here multiple times and effectively make enough money to survive? So we came up with a model that creates this multi-win proposition. So TangoTab helps restaurants fill an empty seat in their restaurants, just like Uber does in an empty car,
Right.
or Airbnb does in an empty home, right?
Okay.
We fill an empty seat in a restaurant just like these guys do.
Okay.
But the promise is, every time a consumer dines at these restaurants, we donate a meal to a hungry person.
Got it. Okay, so you've partnered with the food pantry nonprofits who are
Right.
then distributing the food
Right.
out. Perfect. Okay, so now let's talk about the Feed the City events and what that looks like.
Right. So Feed the City is an idea that we've created as a community event, right? So one of the things about promoting the concept or making people aware that hunger is a problem was to bring the community together and share with them beyond just, hey, when you use the app, somebody gets fed. We wanted to show them what's happening. We wanted to get them involved in actually the feeding, in actually the working with the communities that are feeding people in need. So we created an event that happened initially once a month. And by bringing people to these events, we started seeing hundreds and now thousands of people wanting to bring their kids to volunteer and work with us. And this event has grown to now, I think we have over 24 events a month around the country, as well as corporate events. So a lot of corporations are using the concept to feed people in need and work with their team members to really bring philanthropy into the company.
Okay, so Andre, is the app free in the App Store?
The app is free to use and to download. So every time you're going out to a restaurant, just check in on the app. Effectively, we're asking people to do what they do normally.
Yes.
Okay, there may be a slight change in behavior is that you're opening an app. But what's interesting is when you open the app, you look at all the restaurants that are participating, and actually you start going to more of the restaurants that are giving back, right? Because we're working together. It's all a symbiotic community relationship that gives back to that community.
Wonderful. Andre, thank you so much for being with us today. TangoTab, when you eat, they eat. And find a restaurant and fight hunger. I love this whole concept. Thank you so much for being with us,
Thank you.
Andre.
Thank you.